Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran. Welcome to another important discussion, the second new article published by the SBL examining team, which is now right in front of your screen, environmental and sustainability issues. Now, in my previous video, I covered the very first new article published by the SBL examining team in the month of August 22, Responsible Leadership. Now, this is the second article published in the month of August 22, aimed at the syllabus area B of the SBL paper, known as environmental and sustainability issues. Now, a very simple looking article and discussing something which has become more buzz in the last one decade specifically. We know climatical risks are rising, climatical changes are rising, global warming is on the rise, and we're looking at a very adverse weather conditions across the globe in the last 10 years specifically. And we know that in the last 10 years, lots of discussions, workshops, seminars, conferences have been organized, not just by ACCA, but also by many other organizations on climate changes, risk associated with climate changes, ensuring a greater pace of environmental and sustainability practices coming out of the business, etc. Now, in that context, the SBL examining team has come out with an article on environmental and sustainability issues within the business. And let's explore this article. Let's discuss this article. And let's see, in terms of a syllabus area B, when you're reading this article, what sort of a mindset you need to develop from your exam perspective. Now, this article on environmental and sustainability issues, the very first thing the examiner is telling us in this article is that organizations have a difficult balancing act to fulfill. They have a duty to act in the best interest of their stakeholders, not simply to earn returns for shareholders, but they also have a duty towards other stakeholders. Now, we know this is a difficult balancing act. On one side is the shareholders. On the other side are the stakeholders. Now, we've already covered that aspect in the previous article when we were discussing responsible leadership, that engaging with stakeholders, consulting with stakeholders, having a dialogue with stakeholder, and involving them in decision-making, thinking about the needs in decision-making is critical. But on the other way around, we're also concerned about giving high returns to shareholder, giving higher profitability to shareholder, giving a higher return on investment, higher return on equity to shareholder. That is also something the business has to think. So this is a difficult balancing act. On one side, you have stakeholders, engagements, consultations, dialogue, meeting the needs and expectation. And on the other way around, you have your shareholder, who is primarily your principal, and you are the steward. Now, you need to adopt an approach where you have a win-win situation. Now, you need to work for planet, you need to work for society, you need to invest on planet and society, and you need also to educate your shareholders that what is the link between working for planet, working for society, and the return on their investment or return on their equity. We know there is a long-term impact, but if the business needs to be sustainable, if the business models needs to be sustainable, a lot needs to be invested in planet and society. Because if we know we are living in unsustainable ways, most of us are living in unsustainable ways. Most of the businesses are living in an unsustainable way, and we know the climate risk rising. We know the global warming rises, and it will eventually. It will not. It is impacting the business. It is impacting our supply chains. It is impacting the shortages of raw material. It is increasing the drought conditions. It is increasing harsh weather conditions. The supply chains, the trade traffic is becoming affected with typhoons, cyclones, earthquakes, rainfalls, harsh weather conditions. It's affecting the rise of temperatures, fall of temperatures. Everything is happening unusual. And this is impacting the raw materials, the continuity of raw materials, the supply of raw materials. This is impacting the shortages, inventory shortages, the time taken to reach the destinations, the raw materials from the port of shipment to the port of receiving. Everything is going uh, disorganized because of this risk of climatical changes becoming more and more evident. And that's where the businesses have to develop a business case. That's where the business has to develop a case and present to the shareholder that, see, this is what is happening. And to be sustainable and to sustain your profits, we need to invest in the planet. We need to invest in green planet. We need to invest in recycling, reuse, reduction. We need to work on the water reductions. We need to work on waste reductions. We need to act as a responsible business to come out with greater returns to shareholder. We need to engage with our suppliers, our customers. We need to educate them. We need to make them responsible as well. So it is like a process which is to be delivered, but needs a lot of attention, needs a lot of investment in terms of money, investment in terms of commitment, investment in terms of time. And that's where this balancing act will become good. Otherwise, it is very difficult to balance this shareholders and stakeholders. So a business case has to be presented, and I think by this point in time, the shareholders have started to realize this as well. 10 years down the road, it was more difficult, but still there are certain shareholders who might be more rigid, who might ask you, why are you spending on planets and society? What's the benefit? So again, a business case has to be presented. But I hope as a student of SBL, as a student of ACCA, you realize the dramatic changes coming in the climate, global warming on the rise. Things are becoming it worse. Food shortages is also becoming a norm. Food inflation is rising globally. And in such a situation, the business leaders needs to act more quickly if they want to have a sustainability of the business models. Moving on, need of time. Environmental and sustainability issues have become extremely important across many diversified industries and organizations worldwide, irrespective of size and strategies of those. It is a need of time. I was just discussing that with you. The time has come when the world has to react more rapidly. The organizations have to react more rapidly. The developing countries and the developed world has to react more rapidly because things have gone out of control. We are already seeing the adverse impact of the climatical changes. We are already seeing the adverse impact of the global warming on our business practices and on our organizations and on the countries and on the globe. So this is the time to act. And that's where the shareholders have to realize that if a business is going towards the side of sustainability, environment, and society, there is a need for that. Otherwise, you cannot find a sustainable returns to shareholder. So I think putting a case and an emergency case to shareholder at this point in time is the need of time. Organizations that take positive actions and publicize these can achieve competitive advantage as a result. We know lots of organizations, not just in last 10 years, in last 20, 30 years, have developed their sustainability practices, have developed their social and environmental models and very effectively, very robustly, and they're gaining competitive advantage today. Lots of organizations has invested in technology, ensuring they're reducing their footprints, ensuring they're reducing their negative footprints on the planet, ensuring whatever they are sourcing is sustainable, whatever they are procuring is sustainable. Lots of organizations have invested in biodiversity, in green energy, in identifying the negative implications of their business organization on planet and reducing it. So lots of organizations have engaged experts which have studied the organization's supply chain and have identified the implications, and organizations have invested on them. So organizations are coming with social and environmental measures, very good measures over the last 10 years, last 20 years. And these positive actions are making them better. These positive actions have made their repute better. They made their goodwill better. And they're also they're also public, they're publicizing it, right? We know there is integrated reporting, there is a social environmental reporting, sustainable reporting. So you also report them so the people know, the public know what you are doing at the end of the day as a responsible business. Organizations that are found to be lacking in this area can be at a disadvantage, leading to a loss of market share and investor faith. Definitely. If organizations are not working on it, You don't have a long-term approach at all. If you're still not bothered about putting your efforts to repairing the climate, improving the climate, repairing the planet, repairing the society, and you're still relaxed, you're still not worried about it, you're not taking any action about it, you are at a significant risk of losing your market share, because I think the customer psyche, the public psyche is changing over the globe. They want the customers are becoming more responsible. They want to procure more products of companies which are environmental friendly, which are doing something good for environment. The customer wants to indulge in good environmental practices as well, good responsible practices as well, and they want to engage with companies who are doing so. So there are two types of organization: one which is gaining competitive advantage, one which is losing competitive advantage because of the social environmental issues on the rise and the need to understand them. Risk. The social and environmental issues on the rise, the climatical changes on the rise, the climate risk on the rise brings a lot of risk to business. Business risk, regulatory risk, reputational risk, operational risk, and financial risk. Business risk. If the business is not predicting the changes coming from social and environmental changes, issues, and you're just relaxed, your strategies will become obsolete. If any business is not bothered about how the environmental and sustainability issues is impacting business, impacting the business process, impacting the business supply chain, and you're not doing anything for it. You're not even studying the change in consumer behaviors. You're not studying the changes in the behavior of the society. You're not even studying the changes coming in your supply chain because of these environmental and sustainability issues, and you're not taking any right measure. Your existing strategies will become obsolete, and then that is where you will lose a competitive advantage, or your business might not be a going concern. Secondly, regulatory. We know throughout the world, in the last 10 years, the number of laws, the number of environmental laws have increased a lot, particularly in the developed country, particularly in the European side, in the side of the Europe. There are so many environmental laws coming for CO2 emission, for carbon emissions, for the number of vehicles on the road, etc. These laws are not just impacting the society, these laws are also impacting the organizations. Non-compliances with standards can lose competitive advantage. You might be penalized, you might come in bad, negative press, and this impairs the overall market perception of the business. If anything is reported against you that you're non-complying with environmental standards, you're non-complying with environmental laws being put in place by the government, and the number of them has increased. Reputation. Falling short of stakeholder expectations. Your repute is at risk, because if the customer is changing, your suppliers are changing, your employees are changing, the needs are changing, and you're not evaluating them, you're not studying them, your customer is not happy with you, because the customer thinks you're not supplying an environmental friendly product to him. And you're failing short of stakeholder expectations. Your repute is at risk because you're not serving your stakeholder better. Disruptions to business as a result of environmental effects and being aware of such effects. Operational, supply chain, typhoons, cyclones, earthquake, environmental damages coming out of these global changes, global warming changes, can really affect your supply chain, and you need to be alert of that. You need to be prepared for that. You need to have contingency plans. You need to have backup plans. But otherwise, your operational, your supply chain is at risk. Disruptions is becoming a norm of business. Financial, cost of rectifying the environment, the damage. Imagine a hotel industry which is far more affected because of the global warming. We know there are so many hotels located at the riverbeds, at beautiful locations like mountainous areas, and because of the increase of these typhoons, cyclones, floods, earthquakes coming more and more normal now, so the hotel industry has had a significant impact. Cost of rectifying, repairing, incurring more capital expenditure. Your expenses are going up. So that's where the business needs to take a more holistic approach. Tell the shareholders that, see, there are so many risks associated with social and environmental issues. We need to address them if we want to be sustainable. That's how you think about. Motor industry case for environmental and sustainability practices. Examiner in the article, which you will be reading after this video, has covered motor industry case for environmental and sustainability practices. Let's see what the examiner has to say in this article. Examiner is trying to tell us that a motor industry we know has evolved in last many years. A lot of new technology has come in motor industry, lots of new types of cars, the electric cars, the hybrid cars have come in. And the motor industry is trying to play its part as being a responsible business. But let's see what examiner has to tell for the motor industry. Need to change. Organizations have no choice but to change if they wish to remain in industry. See, organizations have no choice but to change if they wish to remain in business. That is where we have come in. The major threat could be perceived to be political. The European Green Deal, for example, forces the industry to consider greener solution. Now, that's where the motor industry in Europe is being impacted. The political pressure, the regulatory pressure, and that's where the regulatory risk is coming more common for the European car manufacturers. There is a pressure from the political side for greener solutions. And the UK, for instance, has banned the sales of new petrol and diesel cars from 2030. See, that's where the car manufacturers has to decide to stop manufacturing them from now, and lots of them has. We know Tesla, the electric car manufacturer, is already producing electric cars, the hybrid cars, no diesel cars, no petrol cars. So this is where the pressure is coming from the macro environment. This is where the pressure is coming from the political environment of changing your business models. And that's where, if you're not changing, your business is closed. Your business is no more. So this is where things have gone in the last 10 years. While the public sees the change through the release of hybrid cars and electric cars into the market, what is not obvious from the outside are the changes in the production process. You see a hybrid car in front, as me or you as a consumer, we see, wow, this is a hybrid car. Wow, this is an electric car. But we just see that. But within the car, within the manufacturing process, within the production process, within the raw material process, the raw material which has gone into the car, that has also changed. So we are looking at from the outside, the changes in production process, supply chain, and the workforce skills needs to be developed more in a more sustainable method. Lots of organizations are doing it. You are procuring sustainable. You're procuring from suppliers who are sustainable. You are educating your workforce to ensure that the car manufacturing is more efficient, less energy is used, less consumption of raw materials, less water consumptions, etc. Green energy is used in your manufacturing areas. So it's not just a car, but the process behind the car needs to be refined. The process behind the car in terms of metal, rubber, leather, everything needs to be procured in an environmental manner. Everything needs to be sustainable. The supplier needs to be sustainable. You need to ensure that your manufacturing areas are polluting less. You are ensuring there is a green energy being used, and everything put into the car is environmental friendly. So a lot of things have to change when a hybrid car or electric car comes into the market, and the customer is just looking at a car and saying, oh, that's a wonderful initiative from the company. They've introduced a hybrid car. But the process behind the hybrid car, if that is also changing, which for many companies in Europe are changing, that's wonderful. So this is where a motor car industry case has come from the examiner. In future, you might see a motor car industry case study in the exam paper as well, because that's where the mindset of the examiner is going in both the articles, responsible leadership, and now in this article, environmental and sustainability issues. Like the fashion industry, the focus on sustainability is prevalent, including, for example, the ability to recycle batteries. So just like the recycling practices coming in the fashion industry, recycling the clothes, recycling the unused clothes, in a motor car industry or in an automobile industry, you can work on recycling the batteries, reusing the batteries, recycling batteries, reusing the batteries. That's like a more important concept which is now prevailing in the motor car industry, just like a fashion industry recycling unused clothes. So need to change for an automobile industry, and lots of automobile industry in America and in Europe has already changed because of the political pressure mounting on them. So that's where the motor car industry case has been discussed by the examiner in the article published. The second industry examiner has covered in the article is the fashion industry, case for environmental and sustainability practices. We know there are lots of issues in the fashion industry which are not environmental friendly, not social friendly, and things have to move on for betterment. Let's see what the examiner is telling us. Need to change approach in a fashion industry. Let's see, is it changing realistically? First of all, the examiner tries to explain a term in the fashion industry when you read the article, and that term is a fast fashion. An examiner explains that a fast fashion means how quickly fashion can reach outlets. Fashion can reach outlets at low prices. And this is becoming reality. With e-commerce, online shoppings, we see there is a flood of clothes, flood of fashion clothings available over the internet, and at much cheaper prices. There are so many companies which have come into fast fashion, so many manufacturers which have come in fast fashion, producing fast fashion at a low price. We know lots of garments are being sourced from countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, China, India, and obviously Pakistan. The percentage is a bit less in that global share, but that's where you have cheap labors available. That's where most of the sourcings are taking place for even for the bigger brands. Bigger brands are also sourcing themselves from Vietnam, Brazil, India, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and that's where the cheap, low prices are coming into the market. Fashion can reach outlets at low prices. Fast fashion. That's the terminology used by the examiner, and the examiner explaining what it is. Producing a range of clothes which are discarded after a short period. I think this is, we are to be blamed as well. We rapidly purchase garments, we rapidly purchase clothes, we use them for a few months and we just discard them. Have we considered the environmental implication of that? Just first the production environmental implication, then the wastage. Is the fashion industry doing something for that? That's a thought process. I'll just come to the answer. Third, the examiner tells us that a fast fashion is expected to be worn for one season. You just wore for like spring, like autumn, like winter, like summer, then out. And next summer comes in, you buy the new ones. Waste of resource, definitely. For the garbage from our end. And secondly, the amount of production taking place for these fast fashions. Imagine how much emission is being caused because of fast fashion. How much industrial pollution is being caused because of this fast fashion. What is the environmental impact of that fast fashion from the end of the company and from the end of us? And negative press. Lots of business press are taking measures, putting negative press on the fast fashion industries, criticizing them, blaming them, that they are even some of them are getting negative press of using child laborers or some very bad working environmental conditions in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, using them, and just the focus is on low price, but the workers, the factory conditions, the health and safety conditions even are not good. And lots of big brands have come to countries which have cheap labor for production. But the focus of these bigger brands is just on low prices. They're not looking at what sort of practices are taking place behind manufacturing the low price garments. So this is what examiner is covering in the fashion industry case, first defining this. This is the fast fashion. This is becoming reality. This is a model going across the globe, and issues along with fast fashion. Then the examiner turns the perspective, and he comes with what should be done or what is being done by the fashion industry. A lot of fashion industries are coming up with recycling schemes. Customer return unwanted clothing to recycling locations. Now, even I've seen this is happening in my country, Pakistan, as well, that lots of brands at their outlets where you buy the clothes have put the recycling bins. And if you have bought any garments from them and you're not using them anymore, you can just put them in that bin and they will recycle it. So this concept is coming into my country, being a developing one. And I think this concept is prevailing globally in many developed countries and many other developing countries as well. So customers return the unwanted clothing to recycling locations. They're more in the developed side of the world. And that's good. So if that unwanted clothes is returned back and they're recycled, and the recycling at least reduce the garbage, reduce the waste. We know there is that concept of RRR, recycling, reuse, and reduce. So I think that phenomena is being encouraged and recycling is taking place. Unwanted clothes return can be sorted in 3 types. So the clothes you're returning can be recycled in 3 types. Number one, those that can be used as secondhand. If the garments are in very good conditions, you can just separate them, wash them, and sell them as second hands. There is a big population in the world which buys the second hand clothes. There's a big market for that globally, and a big business globally of these second-hand clothes, because lots of customers prefer those cheaper second-hand clothes, and that's where sustainability comes in. The reuse, right? This is basically the reuse of the same garment again. Those that can be turned into other items, such as cleaning clothes. Lot of unwanted clothing is not in very good condition, so they're recycled and they are processed as part of the cleaning clothes. And those cleaning clothes are then available at the supermarket, claimed as sustainable cleaning clothes. So that is how you can make a reuse of the garments into cleaning clothes. Lastly, the remainder, the leftover, is converted into textile fibers. It becomes a raw material for textile fibers. Raw material for the textile. It becomes the fibers, the textile fibers. So see, fast fashion, we just had the negative perspective of that. But if a fast fashion industry is coming with measures like that, that is putting the positive, negative, and balancing. So on one side, a fast fashion going out, people are buying it. But at the end of the day, if this process takes place, the recycling scheme takes place, at least the negative is reduced. The negative is reduced, not zero. So recycling schemes is encourageable, and that's where fashion industry are coming up with such schemes. But the pace has to improve upon. Next, greenwashing. This is a term examiner used, and you should be familiar. Examiner can ask you to explain this term in an SBL paper. Examiner is saying, what is greenwashing? Washing, green. The company promote itself as environmental friendly to gain support from stakeholder, but more efforts is put in marketing than actually taking positive action. And this is where marketing gimmicks has played a part. I think more and more companies are using marketing strategies to promote they are so good, they're so environmental friendly. They make wonderful advertisements defining how socially responsible they are, how environmentally responsible they are. But at the end of the day, they're not doing that much. It's just the marketing gimmicks. It's just the advertisement. And you see the advertisement and you say, wow, how good this company is. But are they doing it actually? Are they realistically doing it? Or are they just making a marketing campaign to impress the stakeholders? See, this is what we are doing for the environment. But realistically, you're not even doing 10% of that. So I think greenwashing is something negative, right? Where you're just portraying yourself to be good, but you're not. Or you're portraying yourself to be good, but you're not that good. You might be doing 10% of that, but you're portraying 50%, 60%. That is, we are so good. So greenwashing, remember this term. Recycling scheme, please remember this term. Fast fashion, remember this term, because these are terms examiners covered in terms of fashion industry. And this is where the fashion industry case is coming to an end. We've already seen the motor industry, right? The final, need to communicate the change. If you are changing, if your business is changing, your business is realistically changing, not greenwashing, and your business is doing very good steps for environment sustainability, you need to communicate that well. A key tool in communicating the action organization is taking to improve sustainability is the integrated reporting. You know this is part of your SBL syllabus, integrated reporting, and a very popular topic with SBL examining team, integrated reporting. The 6 capitals of integrated reporting. There is a natural capital. There is a social and relationship capital. So there is a natural capital, right? And what you are doing for environment, what you are doing for sustainability, that needs to be reported under the natural capital. What steps are you taking for recycling, reduction, reuse? What steps are you taking for ensuring that you're reducing your footprints, your carbon emissions? What steps are you taking to ensure that green energy is used in your manufacturing process, etc.? So you have a natural capital, right, in among the 6 capitals, where you report something about planet. So you can use the integrated reporting as a communication to stakeholders and shareholders what you are doing for planet, sustainability, environment. And that's where things are important. We know integrated reporting is a regular feature of past exam papers. You might get across integrated reporting in the upcoming exams as well in the context of more environmental and sustainability issues. Environmental and sustainability issues are changing the nature of industry. That is true. We just saw the motor industry, how they're changing under the political pressure. We just saw the fashion industry, how are they changing? So the industries are changing because lots of industries are thinking that this is a time we should do something to improve our products, to improve our service, to make our products and service more environmental friendly, to gain the competitive advantage, and to bring the best returns to shareholder. Let's see what the examiner has to say in the change of industries, and he is linking this to the Porter 5 forces. And we know Porter 5 forces is a regular examinable area in SBL. The first thing he's covering is the threat of a new entrant. Let's see what the examining team is telling us. The focus on sustainability in the fashion industry has opened the door for many smaller companies to enter the market and been successful. Fast fashion, right? No more Zara, H&M, no more Mango. Lots of smaller companies, unknown brands have come into the market, and they're making impressive clothes, fast fashion clothes, cheaper prices, and they are giving, consumers are buying them, and they have phenomenal sales. So the focus on sustainability in the fashion industry has opened the doors for many smaller companies to enter the market and being successful. In past, there were high barriers to entry in the form of customer loyalty. Existing operators in the industry have benefited from economy of scale. That's no more the concept. With everything becoming so fast, technology is coming in, customer demands are changing, customer preferences are changing, the lifestyles are changing. That's reducing the threat of a new entrant. That's increasing the threat of a new entrant. That's increasing the chances of new entrants coming into the fashion industry, and they are. Now with those global big brands of fashion industry, we have seen lots of unknown brands which has established their market names in the last 10 years. And people like them, people buy them. But now slow fashion firms are successfully entering the industry and are seeing as an unprecedented rise in this success. So fast fashions, low cost, flood of market. But there are certain companies which are now coming with slow fashion and are becoming the real threat of a new entrant for the fast fashion industry. Slow fashion firms are just the vice versa of fast fashion. No low cost, but high cost. But the fashion product you're purchasing, the garment you're purchasing is sustainable, is environmental friendly. The raw material used is environmental friendly. And they claim that this is recyclable. They claim this is environmental friendly. They claim that everything used in this garment is environmental friendly. Slow fashion firms are generally much smaller and focus on responsible sourcing of quality raw material, environmental friendly manufacturing methods, and longevity of the product life. You can use that garment for very long. So this is a niche market developing, and lots of customers who are very conscious about environment, who are very conscious about environmental friendly. There is a niche market of such customers in every part of the world who likes to buy environmental friendly products, including the fashion products. And they are willing to pay a premium for that. They're willing to pay a high price for that. So slow fashion industry is on the rise, though it's a niche market and it's giving tough time to the fast fashion industry. And that's where the threat of a new entrant has increased a lot for the fashion industry. So that's the changing perspective under the Port of Five Forces for a threat of a new entrant. Garments are often more expensive but classic. This is for the slow fashion, right? In that they can be worn for longer rather than follow the season of fast changing fashion trends. Slow fashion firms can charge a higher price per product and gain customer loyalty. That's exactly what I was telling you. Threat of a new entrant in a motor industry. In the motor industry, which has traditionally had extremely high barriers to entry, new technologies provide opportunities for players. We know the threat of a new entrant for a motor industry was low because they had very high barriers to entry, but that's no more the case with technology coming in. For example, new entrants have successfully entered the market with a mission to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Added to this threat are the companies developing self-driving cars, and there are likely to be further new entrants from outside the industry who have developed sustainable and digital technologies and see an opportunity to use them in the motor industry. Lots of companies, uh, which we don't even know. We are more concerned with General Motors or Toyota or Honda, with Tesla, etc., Volkswagen. But there is a threat emerging for these companies because lots of other companies are entering the automobile industry at a smaller scale, just like the slow fashion, but they're bringing the alternatives. They're bringing the self-driving cars. They're bringing the small eco-friendly cars. And these companies are on the rise. Small companies, small automobile setups are coming and producing thousands of cars which are self-driven or which are environmental friendly, which are which are low on carbon emissions. And such cars models are coming in lots of developing countries like Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, China as well, and that's going on the rise. So you will be giving tough times to the main players in future, and the main players have to consider this in their strategy, that how these new entrants coming at a smaller scale, producing few cars, but still those cars are becoming popular in the market. People are liking them, buying them because they're at a cheaper prices. How can that be considered in their future strategies, a big car manufacturer strategy? So a threat of new entrant is existing for motor industries and for the fashion industries alike. Threat of a substitute. With the advent of these social and environmental issues. Examiner is trying to tell us that while not an entirely new industry, the travel mugs and drink bottles are growing exceptionally. While there may be several drivers for this, we cannot underestimate the demand for consumers to reduce wasteful productions of disposable cups or sale of plastic bottles. We know consumers are becoming alert. You used to buy those plastic bottles. We used to drink water, throw them in the garbage. Whether they're recycled, they're not recycled. But look at the amount of garbage. Look at the amount of plastic. We know the organizations have come with recyclable straws, the paper straws. That is a threat of substitute to the plastic straws. The plastic bottles manufacturers, the disposable cups manufacturer, for them this is a big threat. The travel mugs, the travel bottles. See, people are coming with these travel bottles. You just need to fill water. You're using this again and again and again and again until it breaks up. But this is a long-term usage. You're not buying the plastic water bottles anymore. You just fill up the water and you go to your office, to your workplace, anywhere with this travel bottle. So I think these travel bottles and travel mugs and drink bottles, long-term sustainable, again, can be used again and again, is becoming a big threat of a substitute for disposable cups and such industries and plastic bottles. Even those paper straws being used more common now is becoming a big threat to the plastic straws. So I think with the rise in climatical risk, lots of opportunities have arisen as well. Lots of small businesses have come up, penetrated into the market. They've tried bringing substitutes in terms of paper straws, travel mugs, and drink bottles, or the slow fashion industry, or the small automobile companies coming with self-driven cars, low emission cars, etc. So all together, the industry is changing. And the threats of new entrants are rising. The threats of substitutes are rising across many industries. And that's where the leader needs to be more alert. The business leader needs to be more alert. The business leader needs to think how we need to sit down and think about the future. So this particular article by the Examiner was focusing on the emergence, rise of social and of the environmental and sustainability issues, what measures the companies are taking, example of a fashion industry, example of a motor industry, a lot of new terms introduced by the Examiner: greenwashing, slow fashion, fast fashion, which you need to absorb in your mind as well. Cases given by the Examiner, a risk given by the Examiner. Examiner might even ask you something about the risk, environmental and sustainability risk. So you need to know these risks from the Examiner article. That looks like a pretty important area. Integrated reporting from this context looks like a pretty important area. And a case study on fashion industry, motor industry looks like a critical area as well. But these particular risks can be tested as well. So please ensure you're reading this article on social and environmental and sustainability issues, not social, after watching this video. And it's pretty easy to understand because this is something happening around us and we are part of it. And even the first article I covered, responsible leadership, was more natural. Both the articles are focusing on that extension of a stakeholder theory, because environmental and sustainability issues and dealing with them is more about extending the stakeholder relationship. And same goes with the first article, responsible leadership. So please ensure you cover this article in good, read this out, and go over the changes in this article in a more appropriate manner, and cover these threats of new entrants and substitutes as well, because that's more critical. So that is it. This was my second discussion I was doing on the recent publications of articles coming from the SBL examining teams for syllabus area A and B. I covered in my first video the syllabus area A, responsible leadership, and in this second video, I was covering the second new article published in August 22 from syllabus area B, environmental and sustainability issues. Please do watch the video, and please ensure if you like them, you're pressing the like button as well. That gives a real good feedback to the tutor conducting these discussions. And if you have any questions, you can just drop it on my YouTube channel and I'll be responding it. Thank you so much for watching. Wish you all a very best of luck for your upcoming exams. And these articles are not just important for September, but also for exams beyond September's as well. Take care. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.